Hi, Captain Steve for BoatTEST.com, and today I'm going to do a features inspection and performance evaluation of the Ocean Sport 30 Roamer. Now, Ocean Sport is made by Nordic Tug, so that means we're going to have the same build quality, craftsmanship, and attention to detail as the Nordic Tug brand. And that's a very interesting combination. Let's see how it plays out. Now, first and foremost, this is a working fish boat, so the cockpit is going to be where all the action takes place, and it's certainly large enough to do exactly that. 8 feet 3 inches by 7 feet 11 inches. There are tow rails with shelves above them for storage, fresh and raw water washdown at the stern, padded bolsters going all the way around that top off at 26 inches. 8 rocket launcher style rod holders at the trailing edge of the hardtop. There are 2 more to each side of the cap rails, and these are the kind of holders that can also support accessories. And we can have 4 more rocket style rod holders to each side of the hardtop. Now at the stern, 30-gallon live well, and we also have a door that opens at the transom so we can haul in that big catch. That door is held open by a magnetic catch. Now, what are we going to do when we haul that big fish in? Well, we're going to put them into the storage boxes right here in the deck. Open space all the way down to the bilge, so this is really storage, but we're going to be storing our fish inside this removable bin. That is self-draining, and we can get 2 of them, 1 for each side. Now over to the starboard side, we've got a whole control station, so we don't have to worry about fighting that fish from inside. We can do it from right here where the action is. It includes the throttles, steering wheel, joystick, vessel view display, multifunction display, and even the bow thruster control, so we can dock the boat from back here. Up above is a 12-inch Garmin display, and we can also have another station inside where we can move it to. And all this is under the protection of the extended overhead 6 feet 3 inches off the deck, and it comes out 3 feet 4 inches. Now, before we leave this cockpit space, I want to open up these aft hatches and look at the mechanical components. These 2 hatches are held open by gas assist struts. And here's where big change comes from, where Nordic Tug took over the brand. This was originally designed to be a stern drive installation. We would have twin D4 270 horsepower Volvo Penta engines with stern drives. Nordic Tug added the outboard installation, and to do that, they didn't just take the existing hull and put the outboards on. What they did was they completely redesigned the whole interior, the stringer system, the grid system, and the transom to strengthen it for those outboards. That now leaves us room for having all of these components. The battery systems over here, we've got start batteries, dedicated batteries for the electronics, and separate house batteries. I've got easy access to the bilge. There's the bilge pump right there, raw water intake for the live well, and there's a through-hull transducer. Battery switches and breakers are right against this panel, and we can easily access and service them by pulling 2 pins and sliding it back. There's a 200-gallon fuel tank right here, and there's another 200-gallon tank just forward of the storage boxes that I showed you earlier, so that's 400 gallons of fuel on this boat. Engines of choice on this boat are 350 horsepower. You can get Yamaha or Mercury. Now, there's also a 33-foot version of this boat, and that will have a 3-foot extension right here in the middle of the cockpit, where we'll have 2 large fish boxes in between the 2 deck hatches that we see now. With that boat, you can get 350 horsepower, 400, or 450. Now, there are steps to both sides of the cockpit, and then beefy rails. These right here, part of the Nordic Tug influence. And we've got more rails going across the top of the cabin, making our way to the bow. The rails top out at 28 inches. Ground tackle consists of a quick windlass leading to an anchor mounted on top of a roller that's recessed into the bow. There's hatches to both sides leading us to the road locker, and then foot control switches are just behind. There's a center mounted cleat. And that's a 10-inch cleat. There's 2 more to both sides of the bow and 2 midship cleats. Taking a look at the windshield, 3-piece. They're angled forward, which is a really nice feature on a boat like this because you're reducing glare, and we've got a brow just above, further knocking down any glare. Now let's step inside and see where the real Nordic Tug influences come into play. The doorway, 2 feet by 5 feet 7 inches, 6 feet 5 inches of overhead clearance, windows all the way around, and notice that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 opening side windows, not just 2, so great ventilation going through here. Over on the port hand side, it's a little settee with a fore and aft seating. Microwave just underneath this aft seat. There's storage in the deck, plenty of storage all the way around. Galley over on the starboard side has a sink with a cover. Gas stove, 2-burner, and the propane tank is underneath the steering console out on the aft deck. Nice fiddles going all the way around the counter, solid surface counter. The forward seat converts into forward-facing seating, and then you can see the wires just ahead on that shelf where we can transfer the aft Garmin unit to. And this table can also drop down and form another berth for 2 people. Now we can sleep 2 more fully forward here. Headroom here is 6 feet. The berth is 6 feet 1 inch. That leaves 3 feet 1 inch over the berth. There are shelves going to both sides of the berth. The overhead is all fiberglass. Light fully forward. It's a hanging locker. To the port hand side. And the head, there's a solid surface counter, stainless steel sink, storage underneath the counter, and an electric flush toilet. Overhead, there's an opening hatch for ventilation. Just to the port side of the companionway stairs is the main power panel. The helm is starboard side mounted, nice stanchion for hanging onto. Of course, there's a wiring channel inside that. Opening side window, which we'd already talked about. Compass is directly in line with the steering wheel, which is mounted to a tilt base. Garmin multifunction display, vessel view display just alongside that. Controls for the windlass and trim tabs. Ignitions are over to the right-hand side of the wheel. Joystick for the bow thruster and the joystick for the engines right over to the right-hand side, and then the digital throttle and shift just behind that. Above the helm, there's a Fusion stereo, 3 windshield wiper controls, and a VHF. And now we can notice nicely the wood trim and the upholstered overhead. That's more of the Nordic Tug influence. Around the side, we've got a Blue Sea monitoring system for keeping track of the vessel's electrical system. The helm seat, mounted to a suspension mount, it adjusts high and low. We can also adjust the suspension on it. And we have flip armrests. It'll also slide fore and aft. The seat adjusts up and down, but I'm still a little high to reach that footrest, but I like how we're on a pedestal because this is where my feet are more comfortable anyway. And for a workboat like this, it's nice to see a full-length grab rail going right down the length of the cabin. Now behind the seating, there's a quarter berth. This one measures 6 feet 9 inches in length, 2 feet 5 inches of overhead clearance. There's a standard window just behind the steps so that we can use it for rod storage. Just slide the rods through the window. We also have a table that we can flip up for extra storage. Now let's get underway and see how she performs. The Ocean Sport 30 Roamer has a length overall of 30 feet 3 inches, a beam of 10 feet 9 inches, and a draft of 2 feet 9 inches. With an empty weight of 13,500 pounds, 55% fuel, and 3 people on board, we had an estimated test weight of 15,755 pounds. With the twin 350 horsepower Mercury Verados turning 17 pitch props and wound up to 6,400 RPM, our speed topped out at 49.4 miles per hour. Best cruise came in at 4,500 RPM and 33.1 miles per hour. At that speed, the 27.5 gallon per hour fuel burn translated into 1.2 miles per gallon and a range of 433 statute miles, all while still holding back a 10% reserve of the boat's 400 gallon total fuel capacity. In acceleration tests, we reached planing speed in 6.1 seconds, accelerated to 20 miles per hour in 7.4, and 30 in 12.2. Well, this was a fun boat to drive. She seems to be most comfortable around 4,500 RPM. Then she's really stable, comfortable ride. If you go faster than that, start pushing her, then she becomes sensitive to trim, and you are going to be messing around with the trim tabs. It's not worth doing because you're not going to need to run that fast at all unless you're running a race. Back it down to cruise speed, everything gets comfortable, and she handles so much better. If you put her into a turn, she likes to lean into those turns. So your turns to starboard are going to be great. You can clear the area, but when you're going to turn to port, that lean will give you a blind spot because the roof comes down. So make sure you clear your turn to the port hand side before you initiate that turn. Now with that said, if you put it into the turn, she doesn't grab into the turn. She's got a little slide to it so the turn stays comfortable. And more to the point, no chine walk, no ventilation, no untoward characteristics, just a comfortable boat. It's just when you start really pushing it that you have to start paying attention to how you're driving and how you're handling the boat. Now I'll tell you, I was impressed with having 4 opening windows in this cabin, but the one next to the helm, I underestimated how useful that would be as we were coming into the dock. It's interesting to see a working fish boat that has so many influences from the premium Nordic Tug brand, and the combination works quite well. It's form and functionality combined. And that's my full features inspection and performance evaluation of the Ocean Sport 30. For BoatTEST.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.